see my. Right, all right, all right. You are here with the Guru. And here's my rant for today, Sunday, 21st of May. Again, we're going to talk about Colorado football and why slime time will be in full effect. You know, the season is upon us. You know, it's that time of year where it's kind of the American pastime where we like to get in front of our televisions, brag about, you know, certain players, maybe family, friends, people we know who have young men who are out there sacrificing their bodies for the love of the game to bring us this beautiful sport that we call football in America. And the spotlight, as we know in college football, is on a 1-11 team from last year, that team being the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, I'm 52 years old. I don't mind sharing that. So I remember when Eric Bieniemy and those guys lit it up. I also remember when Cordell Stewart and the late Charles Johnson, may he rest in peace, and Rashawn Salam, the Heisman Trophy winner, the only one out of the University of Colorado, may he rest in peace as well. We're really in our living rooms giving it to us, you know. Great football players, great human beings, went out there in Colorado and Boulder and put on a show for America. And now we fast forward to 2023, a year off a dismal season, and we have the coach, Deion Sanders, who's in town, who couldn't get out of Jackson, Mississippi fast enough. So much so that he was so rude during the trophy presentation because he had a plane to catch. Didn't want to share the spotlight with his girlfriend, Tracy. Pushed her to the side. She didn't appreciate that very much. The athletic director, or I guess the commissioner, didn't appreciate his rudeness either because he wanted to get to Colorado. Well, he's there now. And the eyes of the world are upon you on Saturdays. And we'll all be watching. Now, listen, you have skeptics. I'm one of many, even though he has over 100 trolls attacking anyone who says anything against Colorado football. Now, I've been a fan for a while, as you can tell, because I've always, I've mentioned the past, the glory days, Bill McCartney, you know, those guys who really put Colorado football on the map. The late Sal Lunesi, who was just coming into his own before he passed the torch to Darian Hagan. That was the time in Colorado when football was king. And now we're told that football is going to be king again. I would love for it to be. But here's the problem. We have the transfer portal now. There's no more selecting homegrown talent. He wants his Florida boys. Deion does, that is. Deion Sanders wants his Florida boys in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, players come from all over. Feel sorry for the young men who aren't there, except for Charlie Offerdahl, who he said is a dog. We'll see how much playing time he gets this year. Again, I said that's a charity case. You know, he has to appease the public for the young man out of Littleton, Colorado. So here we go. And, you know, the problem with that I have is that Deion doesn't want to face the media unless it's under his terms. He's used to controlling everything. He wants to control the narrative. As you can see, he's controlling his own media. He has like 8 or 9 or 10 media outlets that are ready to just pounce on anybody who says anything bad. But those media portals are also to hype up the program, to get the algorithms moving. And boy, are they rolling. Them algorithms are rolling fast. Can't get enough Colorado news. Well, you're going to get some news here today. Now, I've had debate with his choir about how good they're going to be. I was told I had 140 comments against him and that I was the ultimate hater. I think I have a few more comments than that, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to know, where is the talent? Now, listen, these young men, a lot of them who have entered the transfer portal and are now in Colorado, God bless them. I wish them luck. Just know that a great majority of you, there's no love for you there. There really isn't. This is a business. And if I were you guys, I would try to get some money. You know, you see how other people on that team are flossing. His son, Travis Hunter, the little slot receiver they keep talking about. I can't even remember his name, out of South Florida. You know, he has a player that they just did a story on who has a young son and is going to be away from his family, and it's not the end of the world. Get an NIL deal. You see Dion with that big old truck. You see Travis with his vehicle. Now, these guys haven't even played at the Power 5 level yet. And it's okay that they have that. Just spread the wealth. Let everyone eat. Don't tell them they have to prove themselves to eat. And that, you know, the only way that you're not coming to Colorado is if you want a bag. There's a few players on your team that got a bag. Okay? So let's make sure everyone on that team eats. If it's a unit. No flying Travis to Colorado, to Texas, to learn receiver skills. You have a Brett Bartolone, I believe, is your wide receivers coach. He gets paid to coach him up. Why are you sending Travis somewhere else to learn how to play the position? You're going to have him play both ways. Again, the evaluation process is going to be very difficult for him. He's going to use you up like a mule, young man. You tell me how many college players play both ways in the nation. Yeah, he's saying that he's going to do that. You think you're good enough to play both positions in the Pac-12? We'll see. We just need to know that you can compete as the number one overall recruit at one position. That's what I like to see, and I'm wishing you luck. Now let's get to the offense, shall we? People complaining, you know, saying to me, well, oh, it's a new offensive system. It's not what he ran at Jackson State. Okay, that's fair. But Sean Lewis, who is the offense coordinator, who is really the head coach, all right? He's the schematic king there. He's the X's and O's guy. Dion doesn't know anything about that. You know, Pop Warner, high school, whatever. You know, you tell me how many high school coaches jumped to the Power 5 level after 2 or 3 years. I rest my case. So he's not that guy. And I think he pointed out the most important thing, which is that he has coaches on his staff that have over 100-something years of experience. That will bode well for them, for Dion, that is, because he can piggyback off of everything they say. And, you know, let's start with the offense. Okay, it's kind of a read option offense, which you can run a four wide. Mainly it's a 3 wide with a shift. Okay, read option with the running back. Now, I saw the game against Eastern Michigan, Kent State, just last season. This is Sean Lewis's offense. That's not going to work in the Pac-12. You're going to have to find something else. This offense is going to be in trouble. And let me just give you some stats here with Sean Lewis. I think he's like 24 and 34, 21 and 34. He has a 436 winning percentage. So if he's such an offensive genius, why didn't Kent State keep him? They could have retained him. They could have offered him more money to stay. He did not have to go. But they were happy to let him walk out the door. You know why? They feel like he's just that guy. He's just a guy. They can find someone to replace him. You know, and most of these coaches, most of these white coaches, they always throw that genius label on them. You never hear them talk about anyone black about being a genius on offense. So Dion felt like he had to get him, that he was going to cater the offense to his son. And I know people are going to say, well, you know, it's not going to be that offense. Yes, it is. Now, you think you have the players to do it. Alton McCaskill, running back out of University of Houston, who's come over. He was out last season with a knee injury. We'll see how he does coming back. You're making all this hoopla about Shiloh. Like, what's the big announcement? Like, why is he a big deal? He went from South Florida to South Carolina. All right, couldn't cut it there. But he knew it's not, he just didn't start there. He didn't start for him. He might have started a couple games, but he wasn't SEC caliber. So he comes to Jackson State where he can play, right? He can play for his father. He can wear that number 21 so Dion can see his name and the number 21, you know, live vicariously through his son at that number. Shiloh is not, I mean, come on. He doesn't even tackle. He doesn't even wrap up. All you have to do is look at his highlights. So I don't understand why he's a big deal. But, you know, Dion's the coach. He's going to make sure his son gets that spotlight. Okay, we'll see how he does. He was pretty average at Jackson State, to be honest with you. Let's get to the quarterback in Sean Lewis's offense, Shedeur Sanders, 4-star recruit. Yeah, okay, he was recruited by Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Florida State. Why did you pick Florida Atlantic? Why did you pick them? If you're really about that competition and that's all it is, you should have picked it. You should have picked one of those bigger schools, Alabama or Florida State. Surprised you didn't pick Florida State over Florida Atlantic. Maybe you felt that you weren't good enough to play at those schools. Maybe you felt like you were going to have to wait a while. I know your father leveraged a job at Jackson State and inserted you from the beginning. And that offense is maybe a quick offense, but if you don't complete passes and you can't move the ball, it's going to be a quick 3 and out. That defense is going to be tired, and the score is going to be ran up on University of Colorado Buffalo. So that's why I say pump your brakes. You know, they're getting way too much hype. And Dion Slime, that's my nickname for him. He does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. He wants to boast and brag. You know, it's cool. You're showing all the videos with your family, but you're not showing them with the other players, right? Let's get some video of the other players. You know, but we know it's all about you and your family and your sons. And again, like I said, those other teams are just waiting. They're going to validate what I'm saying and what a lot of other people are saying about Slime. You know, I can't really say much about his staff other than, you know, Sean Lewis he's pedestrian. You know, again, Kent State let him walk out the door. So he wasn't that great. And he had a losing record. All right. How many black coaches you know have a losing record as a head coach and can bounce to his offense coordinator? You can do that under Dion. He needed those guys. He needed 3 white coordinators to sell the Board of Regents at Colorado who were very skeptical, who were really opposed to him even getting a job. They'll be proven right. Rick George, the athletic director, I think he played at the University of Illinois. He's desperate. I will give him credit. He hired 3 black coaches in a row. That's how desperate he is. You know, what other D1 school is going to do that? But kudos to him because he's just like, he's trying anything. And you know he's really trying anything when he hires Deion Sanders to be his coach. I can assure you no other Division I team wanted him. Not one. He jumped on this 111 team as quick as he could. And, kudos to him. He's a salesman. And I will say this, never trust a man who wears sunglasses in a press conference when they're speaking to you. The eyes are the window to your soul. He can't face anybody. I think the fact that they let him wear those shades in the press conferences with his hoodie, cowboy hat, that's all part of his persona, That's to deflect from what's really coming. And I'm sure you're going to see those shades on when he's losing. I like to see how he handles the tough questions and the adversity about we coming. You're supposed to be coming this year. So that's what everyone is expecting. But back to the offense and Shedeur Sanders. Listen, he did very good at Jackson State. I won't deny that. But let's talk about some of his losses. And the reason I'm mentioning the losses is simply because this is a different level of Power 5. He couldn't beat Louisiana Monroe. They were like next to last ranked team in D1. He couldn't score against them. Okay, so he went undefeated in this conference twice with a stacked roster. But even with that roster, and the number one player in the nation on your team, and Isaiah Bolden, who got drafted to the NFL, the one player from Jackson State who did, you still couldn't win. So if you can't win those games, how are you going to beat a Colorado? I know a Colorado can beat NCCU. I know Colorado can beat the South Carolina State. They'll play them tough, but I believe they can beat them. So that's why I say that, look, he is the elephant in the room. And they showing him throwing passes like 60 yards in shorts with no one in his face. I bet you every college quarterback in the nation can do that. That doesn't impress anyone. NFL quarterbacks do that at combines all the time. How many of them paying out? So that's nothing to be impressed with. His job is to throw the football. He better know how to throw it like that. But it all counts when someone's in your face. And to say that Isaiah Bolden is one of his draftees, no. Slime has very little to do with Isaiah Bolden going to the NFL. He was groomed already 3 years at Florida or Florida State, Florida State, I believe he was at. 3 years. Those coaches there developed him. He just carried it over to Jackson State. That's why Slime got him and picked him up. But he wants to take credit and say, well, this is one of my players. No, you came in and you recruited him after he already was developed by the coaches at a big-time university, your former university that you didn't go to class to. That's another story. I'm not going to get into that. But back to Shedeur, he's flossing. He's got his barbecue sauce. I still don't know where it's at. I like to have some, but I don't know where it's at. He got the grill. He's hanging out with rappers and female basketball stars, and he's at this club, and he's driving this whip. That's cool, He would have had all that without him playing football because, his daddy's money, which is fine. Wealth is passed down. But this push for him to be something that he's not is just laughable. So we had a story that came out about one of his former offensive tackles. His name is Willis Patrick. And he's now at TCU, who they'll be playing the first game of the season. And, he said a few things that were interesting about Shedeur. He said he's not very focused. He knows his tendencies. He needs to concentrate on, being more focused on his play instead of all the other distractions. He eats bad and, he's just not what you would call high caliber at this level. Willis Patrick said himself, yeah, he's gonna have to change a lot of things to play at this level. was someone who was on the field with him for basically every snap, was Patrick. So, it's not just me saying this. As far as his ability to play at this level, we can say whatever we want. Nobody has seen it. Nobody has seen it yet. Really, no one has seen what Travis Hunter can do. Even though I believe he'll fare well as long as he's used properly. He's only one man. Cormani McClain is a freshman, I believe. Very few freshmen can step in, 5-star or not, and start. You know how many 5-stars Alabama have, and some of them are on the bench right now, or 4 stars. So, it's going to be something to see. And the spotlight is on you. You want it, you're going to have it. But let's not talk about Shedeur being a pro prospect. Vegas have y'all at 3.5 wins. How are you going to draft a quarterback who only wins 3.5 games as a junior? People even talking about him coming out after this year. Like, are you can't be kidding me with that. Tell me you're kidding. That's just not going to happen. It's not possible. I'll sit here and say that I really don't give them. They might get 1 win. Okay. I see probably 1 win on the schedule. I think Vegas is being a little generous. Maybe Colorado State. Stanford's in a complete rebuild, and they're going to be well coached. They have Sacramento State's former coach. I don't see a win there. Whoever that coach who came from Sacramento State, I don't know his name, but he can get players ready to play. He can get them ready to play. And so I have him being 0-12. I don't see victory on that schedule at all. And it's because of the quarterback, and it's because the lack of continuity that will be in place for a team that's just coming together. You're putting all these new pieces together. Now, I know they're going to whip them in that practice facility, and I know they're going to like hunker down and really work hard, but it takes a while to build a winner. And I think Slime gets too much credit for things that he hasn't done. He's not the greatest cornerback who ever lived. And people tout his high school and little league experience because that's all he has to go on to win. And, you have this Sean Lewis guy who's coach. You have a defensive assistant who's now from Alabama, the defensive coordinator. Probably the only real good man on that staff is Dennis Thurman. He should have been defensive coordinator, at least assistant head coach. But, Slime had to put the right people in place to sell himself to the Board of Regents. He knew if he had any Black coaches in higher positions there that there was a chance that they might have looked the other way. He wanted to make the people there feel comfortable. And it's a shame because I'm sure there were some other coaches who could have been in those positions that would have been good and would have had a great start to their career being an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator for the University of Colorado. So that's all I'm going to say is let's wait for the season to start. I have no faith in Colorado. And Joel Klatt seems to be, with all his might and all his word spinning, trying to say Colorado is, he's trying to say things as well as he can for Deion Sanders. And I've heard some of his interviews on Fox, and basically he's talking about, yes, he's bringing in money. He's bringing in more eyes on Colorado football, revenue, sold out the spring game for $10 a pop, All those things are fine. but winning is the only thing that really matters. So let's keep that in mind. And again, like I said, I'll be here for all the smoke when the season starts. So you'll be able to find me. Just make sure that I can find you. So I'm out. Guru's Rant. Peace out, people.